It's April. It's April, guys. For those of you that missed us last week, rather, we took the week off for the Bunny Day, or for those of you that are Christian, for Easter Sunday, and we're back right on time because it is towards the end of the season, which is going to lead us talking about the inevitable MVP race, which is the topic of today's conversation. It's going to take the entire episode for this one, so this is just going to be the MVP talk. But before we talk about this, Sean, you just start smiling, man. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been poor, sir?
Yes, yes. I have growing up in South Central. Yes, I understand. But let me say this, because my parents watched this show, and
Yeah,
so they wouldn't say that we were poor. We had a roof over our head, we had meals,
yeah.
but looking at it, yeah, we didn't have the things that we wanted, but we had everything we need. But yeah, I would say we were poor.
So something came to my mind while I was at Walmart today, because sometimes Walmart has the best price on produce. So you just go to Walmart because who wants to pay $10 for strawberries when you can pay five? So I'm at
Right.
Walmart, and all of these things just started coming to me because Walmart generally is lower income people shop in there, and I'm like, man, I was really poor when I was a kid. I mean, we were poor,
Yeah.
but we were never dirty.
Never dirty. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So please explain, elaborate.
Elaborate. Being poor is not a synonym for being dirty.
I would agree.
Now, my brothers, I don't know how many of my brothers watch this show. They probably don't watch because they're really smart. They got things to do. Okay. And if I might have to drag one of my brothers on here just to back up how poor we were. Right. We were so poor, my dad would cut the toes off our shoes so that he didn't have to buy another size. Like he was we were he was broke. Okay. But I'll be damned if we never left the house clean.
Oh yeah,
You're not gonna
absolutely.
leave the house with a dirty face and stank just because you ain't got no money. There was
Right.
always soap. Do you, do you feel
Yes.
what I'm saying? So my experience today, earlier today, was that there's no reason for you to smell like this, B. Like there's no reason for your toenails to be hanging off your sandals like this, bro.
So you're saying so, you know, being poor doesn't mean you can't have good hygiene. You got to have really good hygiene, right? You got
Oh,
to, take care of your, wash your body and keep yourself manicured. And yeah, you know, I would say that. And then listening to your story, let me go back to what I said before. I thought we were poor, but we weren't poor compared. I didn't have to deal with that, so
yes.
I take that back. America, I was not poor. I thought I was because I didn't get the things that I wanted. So that was probably a selfish way of me saying that. So mom, dad, when you're listening, understand you guys. I know you guys worked, so maybe I just thought because I was a selfish kid. But listening to your story, yeah. But going back to your statement,
Yeah, yeah. So
yes, even if you don't have money, yeah, you gotta keep yourself
you
clean.
got to
And
keep yourself clean.
our parents made sure of that. I know my mother, oh, she was big on that. You're not gonna leave this house, you're not gonna be
Will
ashy.
you preach?
My mother used to cake us down with I don't know if the kids know about the A&D ointment. My mother worked at Kaiser Hospital
You're
in
showing your
Hollywood on
age.
Sunset for 30 years, and she used to get the A&D ointment in the tubes. And when we left the house, we were greased up. And literally we would be outside and play in school all day and come home and look normal. We would go outside and look greasy when we left the house, but we would look normal, not but we were never ashy and we were always clean. And that was the biggest thing with my
To be
mom. Shout
very
out to my
clear,
mom. She makes
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I know.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So
So
yes.
I had a weird childhood where, when I was staying with my dad had, five other kids, you know what I mean? And he was working a VA job and we was broke. My mom,
Right.
she's just worried about me. And
Hmm.
I was living with my mom. I was upper middle class. So I would be like with my dad. I was like, yo, we don't have nothing, bro? Like, why is there no doors on the room? Like, what are we doing? I mean? Why is this house in such disrepair? Like, stuff that you only know when you become an adult. You know what I mean?
Right.
But my mama and my daddy ain't never let me out the house dirty, my guy. Like,
No.
go out the house stink? Well, you better go back inside. So I just
Yeah.
feel like, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing. I don't know. I don't know if this is with black people. I generally haven't seen people of color out the house stink
That's true.
when
And you
they're
know
broke.
why they did? Well, here's the thing. You know why they wouldn't let you out either, right?
Why?
They wouldn't let you out the house like that. The big reason is no matter if you feel like you were poor, you grew up poor, whatever it was, you were a representation of them. So, and I didn't have the opportunity to meet your parents, but I know my parents were prideful people, and so yeah, it's like I don't care what I don't care what your shoes look like. I don't care you don't have the latest name brand, whatever, but you're not gonna come out of this you go out of this house looking shabby. You're gonna be put together. Whether it's if I got pro wings on or tough skins
Right.
or stuff that's considered. I know back when I was growing up, if you had those on, they were like, "Oh yeah, you're poor."
Yes.
But it didn't matter. It was going to be clean,
It was gonna be
and
clean.
you're going to go out exactly, and you were going to be clean. You weren't going to be musty,
Right.
and you weren't going to be ashy.
That's correct.
So
So it's
that's what
something
it
that
was.
I've taken with me through my adult and mature now life, that
Sure.
I ain't gonna be out here dirty. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
just to go out and see people, like, I'm a aisle over, bro. I can smell you, dog. You stink, bro. You're
Right.
musty. Your feet
Right.
stink. I can see crust on your toes. Your toenails are you look gross.
Right.
And I'm an outspoken dude, bro. I'm this
Yeah.
close from saying, yo, bro, wash yourself. Like, I'm that close. Yo,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yo, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, that energy. So
Right.
I just wanted to say for our 49 subscribers, uh, I love y'all. By the way, I love each and one of y'all
Yes,
so much,
I do too. I
to,
love you guys.
because to subscribe so early means that you really like us, because it's before all the hype, right? Like,
Right.
you just to be dirty is unnecessary. They don't tie into being poor, right? Being poor is one thing. That's an economic status. Being dirty is a hygiene issue. You ain't got to be dirty.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Exactly. It makes a lot of sense. It's a hygiene issue. Just because you're poor, it doesn't mean you need to be dirty. Like I said, it was, and it's you're a representation of yourself and the people that and your parents, the people who raised you. So yeah, I mean here's the thing: if you're homeless, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you have a home where you could go to, you could lay your head,
Yes.
yeah, there's no way
It's
you should
great.
be coming out the house
I'm so
dirty.
glad
Yeah.
you made that distinction. I'm not talking about those who don't have a home. Anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. I appreciate you guys letting me talk about that. Let's jump to the topic of the day, which is the MVP race. Sean, today happens to be, what is this, April 12th? Today's April 12th.
12th.
So that means it's the
Hmm.
last day of the NBA season, which means that people are going to start tallying their MVP votes. So instead of just talking about who is going to be the MVP this season, let's talk more broadly about the MVP vote as a whole. Because I think one of the private conversations we've had is such that, what is an MVP anyway? It's such an interesting choice to be made for an NBA player, whereas some other trophies are clear, right? If you're the defensive player of the year, we're going to look at your defensive stats like blocks, and stops per possession. If you're the scoring leader, did you average 32 points a game or not? Assist leader and things of that nature. But MVP seems to be a Rorschach test and more opaque. And so let's start with that conversation, Sean Watkins.
So it's just, like I said, I've been thinking about this since we had our conversation, and it's really, there's so many factors, but I don't think it's clear cut in terms of how they vote for it. You get so many different talking heads and their speaking points, and I really think they should come up with like the criteria and let everybody know. That way, people have an understanding. Because you look at a guy and you go, "Well, man, he seems like he's the most valuable player because he's doing A, B, and C, but you voted this guy and he's got it, and he doesn't. Maybe he did more of A than he did B, and more of C than he did D or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But there's no real clear cut answer, and it's like we said, I think it really boils down to I think it's more subjective than anything. But I would really like to see clear cut criteria on the conversation because
Yeah.
I've got some things that I was just kind of doing some research and man, it's interesting. Like the talking points now as opposed to what they were, 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30
Yeah.
years ago. So, mhm.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about this season, I think today especially, Commissioner Stern has come down with a hard hammer lock on boom. The 65. If you can't play 65 games, you're just not eligible. Some feel X. I feel Y. I feel like that's fair. If you can't play 65 games in a season, you should not be eligible for any postseason awards. That's my official stance.
We'll see. I
I
have something that
I know.
when
Let
you
me
get a
finish.
chance,
Let
but
me
go ahead.
finish. Yep.
Mhm.
I do think they should pair it with minutes played, and not just the games played. But outside of minutes played and games played, I think that matters. Moreover, is that I thought about a specific person in the NFL back in the day. I thought about Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
And I thought about how he was regulated to the worst teams that Detroit had, but he was the outlier every season, and he retired early. He left meat on the table. He
Yeah.
could have been MVP every year, but he was on the losing
Absolutely.
team. Here we are. MVPs, we could probably agree, are always players that are on teams that are winning or in the top 3 or 4 in the records every year. So if you could elaborate on that, please, sir.
Yeah, I think winning is a major factor in that. With the MVP, Barry Sanders was that's great, a great example. He was the best running back. I mean, you couldn't, and he was on some very bad teams, but he didn't get that recognition. But he went and he played every season. But going back to your 65 games, I think that's fair. I think that's fair, but I think there needs to be some exemptions to that. I think if someone dies in your family and you miss some
God.
games,
Yeah.
those got to get,
It's a great
if or
point.
if you have a child being born, those should be some exemptions. And I think injuries. My thing is sometimes injuries are like I said we do that whole load management thing, and
Yeah.
the injuries may not be real. It's just it's a little sore. But I think if you're, really serious injuries or, something that's going to take you out a while, I think, there needs to be some type of concession for that. If you're, like I said, if your team's winning and you're doing everything, and then you start to see some slippage, there should be some concessions. So because it's like you can't, my thing is you can't predict when injuries are going to happen, and you just don't know. So I think it's kind of unfair if your team is, let's say they're the number one seed, and then your major player, the best player who's your MVP candidate,
Yeah.
gets an injury, sidelines him for let's say a month to 6 weeks,
Mhm.
and then you know what I mean, and then that puts him out of the maybe near the end of the season, puts him out of the running for MVP because now he's only going to play 63 games. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think it should be some, and then you look at their record, they go from number one, and since his injury, they go down to number four.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my point. That's my thing.
Now let me jump in here. It's so hard to argue against your points because they're so valid. Uh, there has to be mechanisms that are
Sure.
available to appeal certain situations of there's deaths in the family, childbirth, things of that nature. I think those mechanisms should be available to lobby.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think the funny thing about injuries is they're kind of self fulfilling in the way that if someone's injured, the team's going to struggle, which is going to affect your MVP status anyway. So those kind of go hand in hand. If we go back to the 80s, right? You had Magic and Bird in the league.
Sure.
So I don't know how many seasons, I don't have the stats in front of me. They're just leapfrogging each other from one year to the other for MVPs.
Hmm.
It's inarguable. Like it's
Right.
if it's not Magic, it's Bird. If it's not
Bird.
Bird,
Yeah.
it's Magic. I don't feel like the MVP races, and you're going to sprinkle in some Kareem there and some other bigs. I don't think the MVP races were as hotly contested as to now. We obviously have more sports media, but
Sure.
the questions start to be weirder. It's like the eye test. Like Wemby does stuff I've never seen before. Between
Sure.
you and us,
Hmm.
you and I, we have about 80 years of basketball under our belt. What is this, right? These are questions
Right.
that make you start asking, well, is this MVP stuff that I'm looking at? So I don't think it's always so cut and dry as just looking at someone's stats or how many games they played to begin with.
Yeah. I would totally agree. And that's why when you look at that, and I look at Wimby, he's incredible. But and we know MVP, they look at team success. But if you look at, let's take the top two MVP candidates. We say SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and then we say, let's say Wimby's right there too. Let's just say those two. If you look at their records of their teams without them playing, they've got great records. So, not saying that that shouldn't take away from their MVP status, but if I were to ask you, would the OKC Thunder make the playoffs without SGA? What would you say?
Would they make the
Would
playoffs?
they would they make the playoffs? Not the play-in, the playoffs. Would they be a top six seed in the Western Conference
I,
without
th-
SGA?
I think they'd make the playoffs.
Okay. Same thing with the Spurs. Would the Spurs do it without Wimby?
They'd make the playoffs.
See, there you go. So my thing is, okay, so it's like, okay, are we looking at their team success, or what are we doing? The eye test shows us throughout this course of the season, both of these teams have great winning records without their star players.
Let me
Six.
interject here
So
because hold on now. This is something you do to me all the time on the phone, and so I'm glad it's happening on video. You're you're talking about something that's becoming clear as you're saying it. We're talking about teams that are really good, that are better with a great player.
right,
And I think we should really, if we really wanted to talk about most valuable player, we should be talking about teams that need their guy more, which is usually a mid tier or higher team. And you just made me realize
exactly,
this. The definition of value, the regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. The importance of a player at a mid tier team level is higher than your superstar.
right.
Am I making sense?
I'm not trying to say, these guys on the teams that are not as good as far as their team success, but they are good, but they're not as good as the top tier teams. They need to have more consideration because if you put all these teams together and we name the top, let's just say the top five teams in the NBA, Eastern and Western Conference, and you take their best player off that team and you put, you know what I'm saying? And you put them in and you look at those teams, which teams are going to be the worst off? And to me, that's a great way to deduct who's the most valuable
Yeah.
because you as a team, you can afford to lose some players because your team is that good. You're still good to where you can be competitive. There's some teams that are in the upper echelon. You take that great player off, and man, they're a play-in team, or they don't even make the play-in.
Yeah.
So then you have to ask yourself, well, who's really the most valuable? Or another thing I do real quick
Yeah.
before you start. Let's say we take each player and we flip them and see how those teams go. Then you could say, so if I take SGA and put him on let's say my team, if I put him on the Lakers and take Luca and put him on OKC, is OKC still as effective? Are the Lakers that much better? See, so you see how your eyes got big. You're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
And it's really so. There's a lot of things that you. But go ahead, sir. I just wanted to
Yeah.
interject and put
Well,
that
but
in
to
there.
your
But
point
yeah,
that you just made, I also feel like there's a lot of players you can put in the Celtics system where they would give you Jaylen Brown's numbers because of the way they play. I feel like if
Right.
you put Jalen Brown at OKC, I don't know if he gives you those numbers. You
See,
know,
there you go. See, there's arguments on each side. So that's what I'm trying to say. So there's no clear-cut criteria. And that's what I'd like to see. Or I'd like to see what people look at. Because you hear a lot of different things too. You hear about playing defense. I want to get to that too when
yeah,
if
we're
we
gonna get
if
to
we
that.
get
But
have
but
time.
another part I think that's really interesting here is that we talk about MVP, and not only are you battling stats and team chemistry, you're also battling voters.
Right.
So back in the day, Jordan, who had won, God, how many MVPs in a row? He had won. I don't remember how many MVPs in a row, and they had ended
97,
up giving
98.
it to Karl Malone
Right.
over MJ for. I mean, the Jazz had a great record. I think Malone was averaging 32 and 9 or something crazy like that.
Didn't he go back to back? Didn't he win 97 and 98?
I
Or
believe so. I think Jordan
who?
retired the next year, didn't he?
Because the 97, I think Carmelo won. And then 98, he may have won again. I'm not sure. I know Jordan didn't. I don't think Jordan won MVP in
But
98.
my point is, they got
But
tired of voting for
you're
Mike, right? There's
sure.
a standard of excellence that had gotten so high that they got tired of voting for it. We're seeing this happen to Joker,
Right.
honestly. Like,
Hmm.
how many times did you text me, Joker has 38, 15, and 13, and we're just like,
Absurd,
you're like,
absurd
it's so
numbers.
nuts, and no one's talking about it. Like, he just gave you 32 and 15, and we're just like, oh well, it's Joker. Like,
Right.
that type of output should be appreciated.
I totally agree. It's voter fatigue is what they have is, and let's face it, as fans we get spoiled, right? What happens is we watch this guy do it, and when he's in the middle of doing it, that he just starting it, we go, oh man, this guy's phenomenal. Look at this, this is incredible. And then he gets the MVPs, and then we go, we get spoiled. We're like, well, he's supposed to do that. We're spoiled. He's supposed. That's exactly what happens. I know you're getting excited, but that's what happens. He's supposed to do that. So we're spoiled. Oh, he's supposed to do that. That's nothing. Are you serious? This guy just dropped a 32, 22, and 12 triple double, and that's what he's supposed to do. And then he this is going to be what is his second straight season averaging a triple double
Yeah,
for the season or
yeah,
something like that.
damn near averaging a triple
So,
double. Yeah.
and we look at it as it's average. It's what he's supposed to do. We get spoiled and we get privileged. So let me look at this other guy that's having a great year as well.
I mean, to your
And
point,
that's yeah. Go
this
ahead.
happened to Kobe. You know, the
Yeah,
Steve Nash back-to-back MVPs. Kobe was putting up 30. Kobe, Kobe was averaging 35 PPG,
and
and they gave it
didn't
to
wasn't that
Steve
the year?
Nash.
Wasn't that the year he scored 81 too?
That
Was
was
that
the
that
year he
year?
scored 81. And I'm
Oh, come
like,
on.
Steve Nash has never won a championship, first of all,
Right.
right? Kobe's a
Hmm.
champion. I am not shitting on Steve Nash's game. His game is impeccable. Floor
Right.
general. He's going to make sure Steve Nash probably got more people paid than Kobe Bryant ever did. Let's keep it real.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But to overlook Kobe for Steve Nash in those 2 years, I felt like it tarnished the MVP award process for me.
Yeah. If you take Kobe off of that Laker team and you take Steve Nash off of that Phoenix Suns team, and I know you hate the if, but if we were to do that, and the Suns, I believe, were like 60 wins the both years he won MVP. I still think they're a better team than that Laker team without Kobe. I think that Kobe team doesn't even sniff the playoffs, doesn't even look nearly as good. And Kobe was, so he should have been, he was the most valuable player in that league, on that team. But that's where we flip back to, okay, it's team success. Well, I'm
Hold on,
like,
Sean, but I
well,
have a question
Kobe,
for you, though. I have a question for you, though.
sure.
But what are they awarding Steve Nash for? Is it his stature because he's smaller and he's doing more with less physically? Is Kobe being penalized for being 6'6", dumb athletic, and playing for the Lakers? Like you said earlier, what is the litmus test? What
Right.
where's the mix being poured into that so we could understand? Because it didn't make sense to me then, and now I have a better basketball mind now, and I still don't
Mhm.
understand.
Well, it's because of the team success. Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns, with Amari Stoudemire, I believe, was on that team. They were the cream of the crop. So I'm looking at those teams, and they were phenomenal, and they were beating everybody. And Steve Nash was a big catalyst of that. But they were a better team than the Lakers. Lakers did not have a great team constructed, if I'm not mistaken. And no disrespect, but they had Kwame Brown on that Laker team.
Fans.
You know what I mean? Some of the players, and Kobe's out there giving giving everybody's buckets and averaging 35. And so it's it's just like I said, he should have won MVP those seasons when Steve Nash was winning it. But what can you do? I don't I don't I don't know what to say.
I mean, the
I,
flip side
I,
of
I
that is there's only one award to give. You know,
right,
I
right,
think it
right,
got egregious with the back-to-back MVPs for Steve Nash. That's when I was like, yo, what do we
right,
what? Like the first, okay. The second one, I was like, wait, what? Like that was crazy to
right,
me.
right,
But I digress. I think you brought up a
right.
very good point that came to into light while we're talking, is that I don't know if it has to go to a player who's an upper echelon team. I don't think you have to be the first or second best record team in the league. I think Cunningham, after this, I would have not said this prior to having this conversation right now. I think there's a legitimate argument where Cade Cunningham could be considered the MVP based on the criteria that we've set forth right now. I don't think Detroit makes the playoffs without him. They had the worst record in the league a year or two ago. He's brought
Mhm.
international eyeballs onto Detroit. When he's hurt, they don't play that great. It's he is the most valuable to that team of anybody in the league.
So this season, without Cade Cunningham, he was hurt near the end. He just came back.
Yeah.
I believe they have the best record out of all the teams that had missing their superstar. I think and you're absolutely right. A few years ago, the Pistons were the worst team in the league. Then they kind of then the next year they got better. Now this year, so but I think I want to say the Pistons are a crazy like 9-3 without Cade, or a 10-3 or something crazy, which is a phenomenal record.
Yeah.
With a small sample size. So that's the thing. We flip back and forth. So he's going to get penalized for that because his team is good. You know what I mean? But
Hold on.
I would no.
Dog.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Penalized because his team is good because they're winning without him. But but didn't we just say he's playing really good? His team is the number one team in the East. They secured the number one seed.
Yeah.
So if he's the best team in the East, he's not the best in the NBA, but he's the best in the East. Shouldn't he get those votes? Shouldn't he be MVP? I
No,
agree.
no, I'm with you. I'm saying the fact that his team is playing better. Like
Right.
people, and you know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. I know you're playing devil's
Sure.
advocate. People don't understand the cumulative effect of synergy.
Right.
Synergistic, holistic wellness in a team isn't always X's and O's. I've been on teams where I've played with really good players. You, Anthony, when I was on certain teams in Europe, and my play got better because I'm playing with better players. And then even if
Sure.
you or someone else is sitting down, my confidence is higher because I'm playing with better players. That's a
Right.
synergistic effect. If you take
Sure.
Cade away, they don't even get to that synergistic effect. They're still going to be trash because they don't even know what greatness looks like. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's a
I feel what you're
penalty
saying.
for being good and getting better.
There's really no clear cut answer. I mean, we could go back in time where Russell Westbrook won MVP and they were a 6 seed, right? So,
Yeah.
but he averaged a triple double the first time it'd been done since Oscar Robinson. So those are the things that it just perplexes me because I'm like, I don't know how you guys vote. And
You
then there's
guys-
other things that I'm serious. I don't. And then there's other things like I've heard talking heads now they talk about defense. And man, I want to tell you a stat here.
Go ahead.
Magic Johnson and Nikola Jokic, the Joker, they're the only three-time MVPs with no, you hear me? No all defensive selections. So they weren't a defensive first team. They weren't a defensive second team. They weren't a defensive third team. Nothing. You hear what I'm saying?
Oh, we're supposed to
You
be
hear
talking
what I'm
about
saying?
two-way players to win MVPs.
Hey, that's the narrative now. Listen, SGA was not he was not on an all defensive team last year when he won his MVP. But now it's about defense. And so that's what I'm saying. Allen Iverson won MVP, was not
But
on an all defensive
but the
team.
eye test for
But
AI, as we all
yeah,
know, when you see AI play, you know it. That goes back to my
yeah,
Magic and Bird point.
exactly.
Like you know when you see it.
Yeah, yeah,
Before we get out of here, I have one last question. I think it says the fear test
yeah.
is the player that we are gaming for. Who do we spend the most time game planning for? And
Mm,
I think of all the questions we've asked today, I think that's probably one of the most valid. Right? If we go back in the
it is.
90s, we know how do we stop Mike? How do we stop
Right,
Shaq? What are we going to
right,
do to not eliminate, but to lessen Timmy's effectiveness? He was that dude. He's in Wemby's top
right,
5 starters also.
right.
And I look at that, I'm like, who are we really game planning for in the league to try to stop on their way to a chip? Joker. You go to your boy from OKC,
You go to SGA. Yeah.
SGA. You go to Luca. How do we
Yeah,
limit Luca's effectiveness?
right.
I feel like that's a really good question.
I would agree. I think so. I think putting Wimby aside, I think you said it. You said it. Same thing with Cade. How do we stop Cade? How do we, you know what I'm saying? The game plan, like Luca, SGA, Joker, Wimby, and you just said that just gave me like a kind of light bulb popped up. I don't know if you could game plan for Wimby. Like, I mean, seriously. I mean, and it's really not from an offensive standpoint. And I think that's the difference
Yeah.
because most MVPs, you're trying to game plan from an offensive standpoint. Okay, how do we stop this guy from getting to his spots, make it tough on him to where he's getting his shots? Offensively, he plays great. Don't get me wrong. I think he could still get better, but he's great. He can shoot the jumper. He can get to the rim. He's long. But really, I think it's more from a defensive standpoint. You have to game plan like the shots that I'm used to getting at the elbow. If he's in the paint, he can still block those. When I get to the rim and I body him, he could still block that shot. So you have, and then you got he's got great defenders around him.
Yeah.
So that he presents a problem. That's why I put him to the side because you don't most MVPs you're game planning on how to stop them offensively. Now you got to figure out how to stop this guy defensively because if you don't, you're not going to score, and they got good enough scores, including him, that they're just gonna. That's why they beat OKC four or
Well,
five times. It was crazy.
you're teeing me up for one of the points I wanted to make this entire time. What player has the most outsized effect on the game without looking at the stats? It's why I stand by. I felt like Dennis Rodman deserved an MVP in his career.
That's good. That's good. I would
Be-
agree. He was.
because what
Mm,
he does when he's on the floor affects the entire game.
right.
Right? What Steph Curry does affects the entire game. I'm not just talking about 3-point shooting. I'm talking about
No,
gravity. Right?
for
What
sure.
Dennis did, he had so much gravity. He's got the opponent. He guarded Shaq sometimes.
Yeah,
He
he
could
he
guard
did,
2 through 5.
and he gave you every inch of his body. He was jumping, getting rebounds, and I mean, no one could affect the game like he did. And then if your star player was a power forward or a center,
Yeah.
he was an agitator, an irritant. He got under their skin and made those players want to punish him physically as opposed to punishing him on the basketball
I
court,
saw
if you
him
know what
get
I mean.
guys ejected.
Yeah,
I saw
him
him
and
get guys
him and
ejected.
I think the 2 years they played against the Bulls, I think he was integral in because Karl Malone was MVP, right?
Hmm.
Those years.
Hmm.
And I think he made it so tough on Karl Malone and had Karl Malone. thinking about him and what is Dennis going to do and the craziness. And I think it was enough for, everybody else to do their thing. But I could see him winning an MVP. Just, I mean, who does that? Who goes into a game and no points, guards the other team's best player, guards 2 through 5,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
gets 25 rebounds.
22 rebounds,
So
no points, 22 rebounds,
yeah,
3 blocks,
yeah,
like
right,
eight offensive boards. You're just like, oh,
yeah,
but it wasn't pretty. But that's an MVP like performance. All that to
sure,
say, I think this is just so educationally talking through it. The MVP race needs to be a lot more clear as to who has the most effect on the court. It's outside of
right,
scoring leaders and double doubles.
right,
It's value based on what's actually happening on the court. And I think if we
right.
did that, I think some other names would pop up that maybe people didn't think about.
Sure. I would totally agree. Totally agree with that. So it's so many different like I say, it's so many different criteria to grade and judge these players, but that's the one thing. It's like nobody knows what it is. I would love for the NBA, and I don't know, Adam Silver, if you ever watch this, you need to come up with clear-cut criteria to put out and show us the fans that love the game, and just give us an idea of, okay, this is what you have. You have to play 65 games.
We know
You
that.
have to lead your team in scoring, efficiency, plus minus.
Yeah.
You have to play some defense. You don't have to be all defensive team, but you can't just, be a cone.
Yeah. I mean, but if we
you
talk
know?
about plus minus, you're going to get a guy like Lou Dort, whose plus
Yeah,
minus is absurd every time he's in the court,
yeah,
on the court, right?
e-
So
exactly. So you know what I'm saying? So it's just, but all of those criteria, and then as far as the wins, do they have to be the number one team, or can they be top four? You know, because if you
I think
go
we
top
both
four,
agree.
that makes it,
We both agree they can't be
yeah, but
trash. They can't be a trash
they
team.
can't be trash.
Put
No,
them numbers on
no,
a
I
trash team is worthless.
yeah, and what I would say is top four both conferences. Like if you got MVP candidates, so if you've got one team in the West and the other three teams are in the East, those are your MVP candidates. But I think you gotta give us some criteria so we could at least have a better understanding. So
Totally agree. So on our way out of here, Sean, it's April 12th. They'll announce the MVP in a few weeks before we get into our playoff preview for next week. Who is your MVP this season? Who do you think? Not who they're going to pick. I know they're going to pick, SGA, whatever.
yeah,
Who do you think should be the MVP this season?
for me, um, outside of SGA, because I think that's who they're gonna pick. I know people are gonna come after me, but I think Wemby. I think Wemby should be your MVP. And I think it's really close with Cade Cunningham. I think
Yeah.
him and Cade, they're right there. I'm
Yeah,
serious. Like
I'm
I
not. I'm not
can't,
mad. I'm not mad at your Wemby choice at all. I do think it
can't.
surprised me. I thought you were going to say Luca because you're such a Laker,
No, 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 no,
purple
no, no, no,
bleeder.
no, 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 no.
I see your Wemby, and I'm going to give you Cade. I
Okay,
I
I
think that
got you.
what Cade's been able to do there in a non-media town where no one cared about Detroit at all, and they literally
Right,
pulled it out the mud off his back,
right.
and he's done nothing but be a straight dog all season.
Incredible.
He collapsed lung, comes back in under time. For me, it's Cade. I don't
Yeah.
think he'll win it. I hope they go into the Eastern Conference Finals and just shock everybody.
I
But
hope I got him coming out of the East still. Even over Boston, I got him coming out of the
oh,
East
Boston Detroit is
because,
going to be a war. But we'll
oh
we'll save
yeah,
this
I
we'll save
can't
this
wait for that.
for next week. But yeah,
Sure.
I got Cade. So, guys, the
Okay.
MVP race. I don't think we've done anything but give us more questions about what makes an
Right.
MVP.
Right.
We really
Uh,
answered much, but I think we've given some more clarity as to what they're looking for, what we think
sure.
the MVPs should be. Guys, we appreciate you sticking around. Remember to like and subscribe. Tell your friends, your enemies, tell your baby's moms. She hates you anyway. So tell her about the podcast. For Sean, this is Betamax84. We'll see you on the flip side.
All right. Have a good one, guys.